Hello and welcome to another episode of Potside Chats, where we talk about all things China.
I'm Stephanie, this is Nathan, your host for today.
The topic for this episode is the CPC's new educational campaign for 2024 on CPC discipline. And to help us navigate this topic, we have a first-time guest, China Daily colleague and member of the Communist Party USA, Dylan. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much. I appreciate being here. Thank you.
You seem like the perfect person to kick us off. So could you give us an overview when we look at this concept of CPC discipline?
So I think to sum it up, my understanding of it is the discipline guidelines of the Communist Party of China are basically the cornerstone of governance, as well as you could say, the control mechanisms within the party, I think.
But yeah, essentially, according to the party, these discipline from within is not just a mere code of conduct, ethics. It's also a vehicle so that the party's ideology and policies can be implemented efficiently and without corruption. Is that right?
Yeah.
Generally, yeah.
And these policies are applicable across the board. It doesn't matter what position you hold, your tenure, everybody has to adhere to them, and that is in keeping with the CPC's efforts to uphold their principle of equality.
And I think, if you look at how the disciplines have changed throughout the decades, that is a recurring theme, this adaptation. The problems of 1921 and 49 are not the problems that we face today. So the disciplines have evolved throughout the decades depending on what the party needs and what's best for the nation in the party's eyes. Because today, the last 10 years certainly, there's more focus on modernization, social stability, and where is China and how does China want to carry off what they do in the world, as a global leader. With that, the disciplines have to change for its members.
The current disciplines are right here in this handy little booklet. It's not too hefty in terms of what regulations could be. And there are 6 categories of
I don't know
disciplines. Well, pop quiz for Dylan then.
All right.
Can you name all 6 discipline categories to which party members are currently held?
All right. The pressure is on.
It is.
So if my memory serves me correctly, I believe they are political, organizational, integrity, public, work, and life are these 6.
Is that right?
Those are the 6. Yeah.
That's the 6.
Well done.
All right. A+.
Gold star.
That's it.
We love it. I came across the concept of democratic centralism, which, to be honest, was a new to me concept. It's not unique to China, but it is integrated in their system.
So it's very important that they weigh up the pros and cons, the merits of doing A, B, or C. But once an idea is decided upon, and once they think, right, we're going to implement this policy and this is going to be legislation, then expected that everybody gets on board with that idea and they support the policy and they move forward. And that's how they see the party sort of like nurturing progress.
Yeah, which is really interesting.
I think so. Well, to help us understand that a little bit better, we've now got a cut way to an interview. So let's have a look at that.
Can you speak with us a little bit about why the CPC campaign this year centers around the CPC disciplines?
因为中国共产党现在9000多万人，还管理着一个世界上最大的发展的国家。如果没有规则、没有纪律，什么事情也办不成。所以必须通过加强纪律来规范大家的行为。我们中央已经制定了一系列纪律规定，但是很多人还不太了解，所以呢，要让大家都了解我们有哪些纪律，是怎么规定的，让自己知道应该怎么办。
I know there's some distinction between the law and the disciplines, but there's also some overlap. Can you explain that to us?
我们的纪律跟我们国家制定的法律本质上是一致的。我们共产党员既要遵守党的纪律，也要遵守国家的法律。严格的程度来说呢，党的纪律它要比法律的要求更高，但是这个高并不是剥夺一个党员或者领导干部他按照国家法律应该享受的权利。党的纪律本身也是符合国家法律的。
How does the CPC self-regulate?
其实从古今中外所有的这个执政者的经验来看的话，这种治乱循环的历史周期率都是我们面临一个重大挑战。那么怎么去面对这个历史周期率的话，其实我的认为有2种路径。一种呢是执政者更好的解决和社会大众之间的关系， 那么更好地代表群众的意见，这是一个所谓的解决执政者和外部群众之间的关系。那么第二个呢是一个内部视角，主要是呢解决执政者自身的先进性的问题。那么我自己的研究认为啊，西方国家其实很多时候走的是一个外部途径，它主要把社会治理分成三大：市场、社会和政府。所以政府是社会治理一个中心之一而已，这是一个外部的路径。那么中国历史上的历代统治者走的是一个内部路径，主要通过最高统治者接受儒家经典思想的训练，那么通过高度的道德自律，通过实行仁政，从而推动社会的进步，它主要是这样一种路径。那么中国共产党人，我觉得其实把这两个路径比较完美的解决了。第一个就是1945年7月，在延安窑洞，毛泽东同志和黄炎培先生的对话，他提出我们要跳出历史周期率，只有人民起来监督政府，政府才不至于懈怠。这实际上就解决政党和外部社会环境之间的关系。党的18来以来的新的探索，我们党在第一个答案基础上提出第二个答案，这就是自我革命。自我革命主要是通过自身的建设、自我进化、自我提高、自我完善和自我发展。所以呢，这是一典型，就是通过自身的建设。所以通过内部路径和外部路径两个路径的完美的解决，使我们吸收了古今中外治国理政的智慧，所以呢使两者达到一个辩证的统一。
Well, to add on to the interview and to what I understand, I think that the general idea from the CPC with these discipline regulations is to really emphasize that no matter what your rank or position is, that everyone has to be held accountable in terms of its collective interest of the party and the nation, no matter who you are, you could say, yeah.
Indeed. But I mean, there is a bit of a blurred line, I feel, with understanding the difference between CPC disciplines and the rule of law.
I was confused at that at first. I'm like, is it not just the law? But it is not just the law.
Yeah, because you speak to people, we spoke to colleagues and say, well, what is the difference? You know, and the way that they speak about it is you would almost get the impression that the CPC disciplines are above the law. But it's not, it's just a view to hold them in such high regard that members of the party have to adhere to these very ethical and these very sort of moral codes of conduct in the party's eyes.
Right.
I mean, the rule of law is still the will of the state, so that is still paramount. People see it as more difficult and more of a moral quest or journey to follow this life.
Right.
So it's the law with that ethical and moral component to it. And honestly, I found that a very challenging idea. I personally find it quite problematic once you start legislating morality. But at the same time, I also see the absolute value in holding people who are in office to that higher standard. For example, maybe a felon shouldn't be able to run for president. It's a wacky idea, I know, but like legit.
What a novel
That's
concept.
also problematic. So while I have some strong feelings about some of this process, I also have some common ground and can say, I see why that's a focus.
You know, I thought about Partygate, the scandal of the UK government during coronavirus times, where the members of the cabinet just threw caution to the wind and adhered to the rules that the nation had to follow. And it caused a lot of outrage, you know, because people couldn't see their loved ones. Yet the government felt fine to carry off, you know, in an appalling way. And there doesn't seem to be any real repercussions. A few people have stepped down as some sort of like sacrificial lamb to say, oh, look, we're doing something about it, but not really. There's been a slap on the wrist, maybe, for some of the people, but it's not really had an effect because, you know, people then use scandal as a new problem.
Well, that's the thing, like you mentioned, if there's just, you know, at best or at most a slap on the wrist, that's all you're gonna see. I think whether it's you mentioning the issue there in the UK or even for us back home in the States, we've seen it a lot. And we're seeing more of it where these, you know, you have officials who aren't, you know, accounted for their mistakes, whether they're inadvertent or they're doing it on purpose or whatever. There's just no accountability held there. So I think it's something that definitely, it's something that can be learned. How can we keep these officials held accountable? And how can we just continue to further progress with working with each other. And as a member of the CPUSA, of course, we're also held to similar standards, you could say. Yet again, when you look at the CPC and our party, of course, policies and discipline regulations are made based off of the historical conditions and the current situation of our country, our history, and of our society.
Which is why it's socialism with Chinese characteristics,
Right.
and it's not just a cookie cutter version
Right.
of socialism or communism or what have you. You need to make sure whatever political party it is relevant to the people that it's governing.
Because if not, you'll see a lot of, opposition, like we stated before, just not a lot of progress or representing the will of the people or what they want to have seen get done.
Indeed.
Yeah.
But thank you, Dylan, for being on the show.
Thank you guys very much. Much appreciated. Thank you.
Indeed. And we'll see you again next time for another episode of Podside Chats. Bye.